Janie's over here making a bunch of noise. So, hi again, everyone. Like I said before, I'm Connie. And what we're doing during this class is we just do hair. So, what I was going to show you today is known as a brick lay perm. Anyone ever heard of that before? Shake your heads, yes, no. Brick lay perm? No?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of a perm? Yeah? Okay, just checking. Because sometimes, people are like, I don't know what that is. What is that? So the first thing I'm going to do is show you a video. And then I'm going to walk you through it step by step on how to actually do this particular perm. So hold on a second and let me pull this screen up. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So give me a second to do that. Come on. Hold it up on the side and grab that. I'm missing. There's supposed to be 20. Okay, that is pull this up real quick. And here we go. Okay, got it up. So let me share this screen here with you. Maybe. Just thinking about it. Okay.
Are we supposed to be taking notes on this?
You should, yeah. I'll just help you remember, hopefully. Okay, well, maybe this doesn't want to load. Well, yeah, it doesn't want to work, so we'll come back to it. We'll give it time to think about it, and then we'll come back. Okay, so the first thing that we should always do is have our client freshly shampooed. So I had shampooed this doll earlier today, but it dried. So I'm going to go ahead and just spray this down. But we do want a fresh shampoo because we can't shampoo our hair for about 48 to 72 hours after we get a perm. Has anyone ever had a perm before? No? You might want one now. All right, let me turn this down so you can see where I'm at. Here we go. I think we're okay. I'll just straighten this out. Okay. I don't remember what. Maybe Brenda. So these are known as perm rods. This is white, which is not very small. It's not very large either. It's kind of in between the middle. And one thing that we want to make sure when we use these is that whatever amount of hair that we're going to be using, that this wraps around it 2.5 times. So I've probably got about 3.5, so I'm good on this length of hair. This is the tool, it's called a perm rod, perm tool. One thing you should probably notice about this is that it is concave in the center, which means it goes down a little bit. The ends are just a little bit wider than it is in the center. These holes here allow the solution to, flow through, so it gets all of the hair when we use this. So we know what a brick wall looks like, right? How the bricks kind of go. They're not all in the same pattern, they stagger, which is exactly what this perm wrap will do. The purpose of this is to help minimize any roller lines after we put the chemicals on this and possibly process the hair. This is what I'm going to use for my measuring tool. So the first thing that I want to do is start in the very front center with my sectioning here. And I want to, and we use a tail comb. This is a tail comb, so we want to use the tail comb. And as I'm looking at this, I want to go almost to the ends, but not quite for my first amount of sectioning. So I'm going to part this down. This wrap right here actually makes the hair look very natural when it's finished. One of the things that we want to do is make sure that the hair is nice and wet, because when it's wet, it's going to stick better. So I'm going to take this and lay it right on my part, take the end of my comb and come straight across with it to get the amount of hair that I want to use. And I'm going to comb this straight out from the way that it grows. It's called 90 degrees. I'm going to take this comb and place it in my hand. Let's see if I can come up a little bit more so you can see all of it. But I'll place this comb in my hand and kind of flip the tail over. I use these 2 fingers to hold the comb. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this is known as a bookend wrap. So as I pick up the paper lengthwise, I'm going to place it over my fingers and hold it with my thumb. I'm going to take these 2 fingers and just sort of pinch it a little bit to where I pick it up. And I'm going to place it right over this hair. I grab these 2 fingers again, place it underneath the bottom and pull this straight out to where it comes past the ends just a little bit more. This end wrap or end paper is to protect the ends. So as I roll this down, I'm going to bring the band across the front and secure it. That's one. Okay, now this is known as the 1-2 method. So that means that these are going to be staggered. So right in the center of this parting, I'm going to take a little bit of a diagonal one and bring it out to the side. Bring this out here and roll it straight down again. Now this, if you've never done this before, takes some practice. Some of you that have been in school a little bit longer, like Brenda, how much of a practice did it take you to actually get one that get a roller in that you were like, oh, I like that one?
What do you mean?
So when you first started rolling a perm, the first time you tried to put a roller in, how hard was it?
It was really hard because the hair kept slipping. But one of the things I learned from Miss Sue and Miss Serena was that they told me that you have to like have control over the hair. So like wet it down good so you can control it. And I think that's what really helped me. Because like now I've tried like rolling it on my brother. Not like, I haven't put the perm solution on or the waving solution, but I've just done the, just like the rolling part. And it's easier if you wet it down first, like Miss Sue said. I think that's one of the things that, and the end paper.
Right, yeah, because it should be pretty wet for the end paper to stick to it. And like the key word that she said there is to have control over it. And that's what we want. We want to control the hair. We don't want it to control us. Sometimes the hair, it's you know, maybe the haircut isn't quite right for what we're doing, and it's harder to hold on to. So, you know, to manipulate that around, so it makes it a little bit easier. But like I said, when you first start this, it's gonna take you a minute, you know, to get the whole thing done. But it's not that hard, but you do have to practice. I remember the first perm I ever tried to roll. Oh my goodness, was that a disaster? But I just kept practicing and I've got it. So see here in the front now where I've got.
It also took me so long.
Yeah, I mean, and some people, you know, it takes a little bit longer. Everybody learns at a different rate. So just keep practicing, you'll get it. So here's my 1 and here's my 2. So the next one again is gonna be 1. This is called a bricklayer or a 1-2 method. So what I have here, this is called a stabilizer pick or a roller pick. And what it does is it's just gonna hold these in place right here in the front because they like to go like this. Well, if they were to separate like that and I was to put chemicals on the hair, it would totally stay like that. So right in the very front, they'd have like a hole there, and we don't want that to happen. So we're gonna use these stabilizer picks. So how you use these is you take the end of it, and I'm gonna go in the end of the band of the first one, and I'm gonna kind of go into towards the front of the second one, and just push it up there like that so it holds it. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the other one. So I'm gonna go at the end of the band and then kind of into the front there. And that'll just hold that in place for me now so that it doesn't, you know, roll off. So now I have to go back to 1 again. So I can use this to set on my parting, go right underneath it. That's how I know how much hair I need to pick up. The tail part of the comb. And when I lift this up, put the comb over here in this hand. Never put your comb down. Sometimes that's the hardest part. Remember to keep the comb in your hand. And now I'm going to show you what's known as a double flat wrap. So that is where we put 1 underneath and 1 over the top. This is using 2 end wraps. No, it extends just a little bit farther out than the first one. Grab our roller again, and we roll this. Rolling it like this, hand over hand like this, is called overlap method, or it's called crokinole. And don't ask me to spell that. So now that I have this one, what am I gonna do with this hair over here? Well, I'm just gonna bring it down. So what we wanna do is kind of go on like a diagonal parting, because we don't want it to look straight up and down vertical like this all the way down. We kind of want it to come out like this and flow back so that we stay horizontal when we're at the bottom. So as I look to where the hair is on this second one that I put in, I'm gonna go right to the hairline, which is just about the end of the hair on this first one. And I'm going to just part right up to that parting on a diagonal. This is kind of a short piece of hair. So instead of using such a long rod, we have what's known as short rods. With this short rod, it's gonna fill into this area here just a little bit more. Now notice on this side of the head, I'm not pulling it straight up like this, and I'm not pulling it down, I'm out at this angle here. This is still a 90-degree angle on this part of the head. And this is what we want to make sure that we're holding the hair at 90 degrees every single time. That gives us a half off base control is what that's called. And it's going to give us a nice curl to the hair. So now when I'm on this side, I'm doing the same thing at 90 degrees. And I use the moisture off the end of the hair. If you see me go like this, what I'm doing is pulling the moisture off the end of the hair so that I can pick up one of these papers very easily. And now I'm going to put another short one in. And these bands go across the top and front. If the hair is too loose or too tight, you just adjust the band, roll it down closer to the scalp if it's too loose, bring it back this way if you feel that it's too tight. So now I have 1, 2, 1, so now I need to go to 2 again. So starting in the center, now I've done this a lot, so I don't need to measure it every time until you get to the point where you're comfortable and you have the right amount of hair. You should measure how much hair to put it in every time. So remember, when you measure, it's just laying the rod down onto the head and running the comb right below it. But now I have this hair here on this side. So what do I do with this hair? Well, I'm gonna have to put a roller in it. So I'm gonna come straight down from this parting that I have right here, but not straight down because I'm gonna end up crooked or too vertical. I need to go on a diagonal, picking that hair up on a diagonal. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Why do you sometimes double layer the papering when you're curling the hair?
It's just a different technique to use. Let's say that this hair maybe has some texturizing on the ends, or it's a little bit uneven. It's just a better way to control that hair with the 2 papers. It's called a double flat wrap. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's an end wrap technique. There's 3. There's what I'm doing right now that's called a bookend. There's the one with the 2 papers that is called a double flat wrap. And then they have a single flat wrap, which I'll show you that in just a second, of what that one looks like. I personally don't like the single flat wrap. I feel like I don't have enough control over the hair with that one as I do with the double. Okay, so now I'm back to the 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm back to the 1 again. So I'll show you the single flat wrap of this one. Actually, let me spray this down a little bit more. It's getting kind of dry. So this is just where you take a paper, just one, and you place it lengthwise on the top of the hair, extending out past the ends just a little bit. And then you take your rod and you just roll it down over the top of that. And that's how you do that one. So they're just different end taper techniques. It said if your hair is longer than 6 inches, to use a double flat wrap. If your hair is shorter than 6 inches, you can use the single flat or the bookend. I feel I have more control over the hair using the bookend wrap. That's why I use it. Just one thing you want to make sure is in the fold right here, you don't want the hair bunched in that fold. You want space in between the fold and the hair. So sometimes if the hair is too thick, a double flat wrap would work better because it won't bunch the hair so much in that area. Now, as we work around the head, there are some areas of the head that are wider than others. So when it starts to get wider, this is kind of like a puzzle. I always think of, my son used to always play Tetris. And it kind of reminds me of that. It's like making these fit into the areas that we're in. So here now again, I'm going to go on my diagonal. So the trickiest part is trying to get both sides exactly the same. Because, you know, if you're right-handed, your right hand's gonna be, you know, more dominant than your left. And if you're left-handed, you know, vice versa. So trying to get the same amount of hair in the same positions on both sides is a little challenging sometimes. So now getting to the crown area here, and this is where the head does get wider, and this is where I may be getting off just a little bit on my sides. So what that means is we're gonna have to put just a couple extra rods in here and there to make it fit. And I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. And don't be surprised if you have more rods on one side than the other, because heads aren't exactly the same. I have more rods on my left side than I do on my right. So let me add one more here so I'll be even. Okay, so now that I'm back in the crown area here, as I went where am I? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, this is 1. But if I come down to the sides, I can do one more by the ear, but then I'm gonna be really, this is the widest area of the head. So I'm gonna have to just put a couple extra ones in there to fill that in. So now I'm coming back to the 1. But when this type of perm is finished, it looks more like natural curl because the hair is, it's just kind of all over. There's no rectangle pattern to it, circular pattern to it. Anyone have natural curly hair? I'm trying to see. It's hard to see when you guys are like a 2-inch box.
I do.
And do you like your natural curly hair?
No, I like straightening it better.
So those of you that have naturally straight hair, do you like to curl your hair? Or do you like it straight?
Yeah, I like to curl mine.
Yeah. Yes, I know. My hair is wavy. My hair is naturally enough wave in it that looks like it's a mess and then it needs to have something done to it. So I have a perm. I get a perm every summer, and it's just something that I wear through the summer. I usually get it in May or June, and I wear it all through the summer, and then the winter I have my straight hair. There's a lot of people that meet me and would never know that I have a perm just because of the way that I do it. So there's a lot of different ways. This is considered, you know, a pretty, like, not really basic type of perm, but a little bit more, not like a specialty perm. It's a specialty wrap, but it's not a specialty perm. And what I mean by that is half of my hair is bleached and the other half of my hair is my natural color. So what I have to do is get 2 different perm solutions. I get one for bleach, and then I get one for natural hair. And I have to actually do the perm with the bleach solution first, because that's on the top of my head, and let that process. And when that's done processing, then I wash that off, and then I put the perm solution for natural hair on the bottom. So that's definitely specialty. That's 2 different types of perm solutions and 2 different processing times. We do the same neutralizing time, but it is specialty. It takes a little bit longer to get that done. So I always get asked, oh, you do it yourself? No, I don't do it myself. I have a friend who does it for me, and I do her hair. So we usually have a shop night where we do hair and we wax and get haircuts, and yeah, we could do all of our stuff all at one time. Okay, so now again, when I'm looking at this, because this is the widest part of the head, there's my 1, my 2, my 1, then my 2. So again, I'm gonna start here on 1, but as I come out over here, I have these extra pieces. So I'm gonna have to bring this down over here. Now, as I do this, this section is a little bit wide. You guys can't see me over here on this side. This section is a little bit wide for just 1 rod. So what I'm going to do is divide this in half and do 2 short rods. So see how it's all about making it fit in the area that I'm working in. I have control over this. I'm making it work. So these are the shorter ones. My 2 short ones. And on this side, yeah, I'm gonna need a long one. Oh, dropped my comb. So now that I've dropped my comb, I can't just pick it up and use it again because this is on a client. So what I'm going to have to do is pick it up, put it into my soil container, sanitize my hands, and get a clean comb. Okay, so now that I have this done, see where I'm at over here on the ear? I'm right here. If I come across this to come down horizontally, I have this much hair right here that if I keep going at the pattern that I'm going, it's not going to fit correctly. So I'm going to come back here in the center and pull one of these out. Because now I'm back to 1, because that was 2. So now I'm back to 1. I'll do 1 over here on this side. And then I'll put a small one right here, or a short one right here. So I'm almost where I need to be. So now I'm going to go So now I'm going to start in the middle of this one since this was 1 again and do 2. Okay, just about where I need to be here. Bricolage is a really good technique to learn because when you start doing roller sets also, in order to avoid the roller lines, if you bricklay in the back of the head, it's a great way to avoid that. I'll put a short one in over here. Let's see, that's 1, 2, come back to 1, and now I can pretty much just go straight across with horizontal partings instead of on diagonal ones, because now I'm all the way across, I'm pretty much even going across the back of the head. So here comes 1. Now remember, everybody's head shape is different and everybody's hair texture is different. So just because you did this, you know, perfectly on one person and you end up with different pieces of hair on one side than the other on someone else, then that's okay because everybody has a thicker side and a thinner side. So it may not be exactly the same every time you do it. That's the beauty of it because it doesn't look the same on every single person. Got the wrong amount of hair there. I just have to pull that one little piece out. So practice makes perfect. So don't get discouraged. This one's a 2 now because there's 1, there's 1, there's 1, 2, 2, 2. So I can see the difference. That's why I always know where I'm at. I just look at the one above and continue the same pattern that I've started. Okay, so that hair I don't need, it's too much. Put a short one in here because it'll fit better. If I didn't have any short ones, I could put a long one in here, but it wouldn't fit as well. So same thing over here. Also in the nape area here, it's getting a little bit, the neckline is getting shorter than the head. So the shorter ones will fit better because it's getting more narrow in the nape than it is in the rest of the head. You always want to keep your hair combed really nice and smooth, and you always want to keep your partings neat and clean. Sometimes that's a challenge too. Okay, now I'm back to 1. Any questions?
What is that perm called again?
It's called a bricklay. Like bricks, you know, like bricks to build a house or fence or something.
And what was the one you did yesterday?
Yesterday was a rectangle,
Okay,
or a
thank
9,
you.
or it could be called a 9 block too, just depending on what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. We're almost done. Are you excited to try this?
Yeah.
Good. Good. I was an ROP student 100 years ago. Okay, back to 1. I need to put this up a little bit higher. Now I'm gonna tilt it forward just a little bit so I can see here. Okay, so now I'll just do 2.
Is the hair supposed to be damp or is it supposed to be all the way wet?
Well, you don't want it soaking wet, but you do want it wet enough to where it's going to, the paper will stick to it. So if it gets dry, because you know you always freshly shampoo your client. So if this gets dry during the start of the wrapping process, you can go ahead and just take your spray bottle and spray it back down wet. Now see this one, I don't like the way this is laying, which tells me that when I'm looking at it, I pulled it too far up this way when I wrapped it to my left when I wrapped it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this down and just rewrap it. And instead of pulling it up like this, like I did, I'm gonna make sure that I'm coming out at my 90 degrees. There, I like that better. Okay, so now let's see, I'm back to 1 for my last one. So I'm gonna put 1 in the center and then 2 sharp ones on each side. I see that looks kind of dry, so I'll just go ahead and spray that down a little bit. And now we have the completed wrap. How many do you think are in here? I didn't count them. That's a lot to count. Count when you take them out. So let me see if I can go ahead and pull this video up again. Take this out of here and use the keyboard. So let me try this video anyway. Give me a second here. Okay. All right, let me try this again. Okay, share the screen here. There we go. Maybe.
Popular wrapping patterns in the salon. Designers like it because it is easy and efficient to apply. Clients love it because it avoids unattractive splits. Using cylindrical tools of the same diameter throughout the design creates a repetition of texture that marries perfectly with the uniform lengths of the design. This exercise is performed on straight, uniformly layered lengths.
What's color?
The 1-2 method is used to wrap the split blade pattern, with the direction moving away from the face. A repetition of tool diameters creates repetitious curl texture. Tool lengths are varied to adapt to the size and shape of the head. This wrap does not require sectioning. The art shows the partings used to create the bricklay wrapping pattern. Horizontal and diagonal partings are used to create rectangular, trapezoid, and triangular bases, which accommodate the curves of the head. 1 diameter bases will be used throughout this exercise. The 1-2 method is used to wrap. Measure and part a 1 diameter rectangular base parting at the center front hairline. Distribute and project the hair at 90 degrees, position a single end paper, and wrap away from the face with the overlap technique to achieve half-off base control.
See, they're just using the 1 paper method, the single flat wrap. And they're also using straight
Fasten the
rods.
band and temporarily position a pick toward the face to secure.
Let me pause this for a second. They're using straight rods where we have concave rods. So you're gonna notice them using a lot of those picks or stabilizers. And that's because they move around a lot more than what the concave rods do. And you'll also notice that he's just using the 1 paper technique instead of the 2 paper technique. Or the fold or the bookend.
Use 1 diameter diagonal partings and wrap the next 2 rods at the center of the first rod to avoid splits. Begin the next row at the center again, fully establishing the 1-2 method that will be used throughout the wrap. As you work, use picks to secure the tools in the direction of the wrap. Continue adjusting the angle of the diagonal partings as they extend to the sides of the head. Work outward from the center to the hairline in each row to create symmetry. Begin at the center of each row using 1 or 2 rods. Continue using 1 diameter bases and half-off base control. Use consistent tension as you wrap each tool toward the base to create an even curl formation. Adjust the angle of the diagonal forward partings to adapt to the curves of the head, and adjust the length of the rods used to accommodate the hairline. Continue to position tools parallel to the bottom parting and half-off base. Secure each rod in the direction of the wrap as you work. To transition through the crown, some partings will not extend to the hairline. These rows taper at either side and will require fewer rods than the rows before and after. Continue using the overlap technique within these transitional rows, positioning each tool half-off base. Continue, beginning each row with 1 or 2 rods and using the 1-2 method to avoid splits. Decrease the angle of the diagonal forward partings as you work toward the nape. Adjust the length of the tools used to accommodate the requirements of each parting, working to the hairline in the appropriate rows. Continue using the overlap technique and positioning tools half-off base. Maintain even tension throughout the design. Work toward the nape using the same techniques. Use transitional rows as needed to work over the curves of the head. Complete the wrap using the same techniques to achieve consistent curl formation and support. Check the position of each rod, making sure each is half-off base and properly secured in the direction of the wrap. Here we see the finished wrapping pattern. Place cotton along the hairline and saturate the hair on each rod with processing solution. Process and neutralize according to manufacturer's instructions. A repetition of curl diameter is achieved throughout the design, reflecting the uniformity of the sculpture. The bricklay wrapping pattern avoids splits in the finished result.
Okay. So it is 3:03. If you guys need to stand up, stretch, get something to drink, whatever you need to do, we're gonna go ahead and take 10. So I'll see you back, oh, before I see you back here at 3:15 or 3:14, whatever. Friday, all new ROPs. By Friday, we need you guys to come and pick up your books. Bring a mask and come on by and pick them up, okay? All the new ones, by Friday. Okay, we're here Friday till 2. Well, we'll be here till a little bit later, but you need to be in class, so before 2 on Friday. Any other day is fine. We're here till 4, but by Friday. So you can come tomorrow if you want. You know, just bring a mask and come on in and get your books. Okay, so now I'll see you at 3:14. So this is the video from yesterday. I'll just show it and then we'll go over steps.
The rectangle wrap is one of the most time-efficient wraps you can perform in the salon. Changing the tool diameter for a wrap or varying tool diameters within a wrap will give you many options to work with. Practicality and versatility make the rectangle wrap a good choice for many clients. The front of the center rectangle may also be wrapped toward the face. This exercise is performed on straight, uniformly layered lengths. The rectangle wrapping pattern is wrapped using the same diameter tool throughout and varying tool lengths as needed. The finished perm design shows a repetition of curl texture with movement away from the face at the front and downward at the sides. The arch shows 5 sections with a center rectangle extending from the front hairline to the nape. Note that this rectangle usually becomes slightly narrower at the nape. The sides are divided approximately in half depending on the size and shape of the head as well as the tools to be used. Longer and shorter rods will be used to adapt to the head shape as needed. 1 diameter bases will be used throughout the exercise. Distribute the hair back off the face. Use the length of the tool to determine the width of the center rectangle. Use the tail of the comb to section the rectangle. Use a shorter length tool to measure and taper the rectangle to narrow slightly in the nape. Use the longer tool to measure the width of the front rectangle on either side and section the front of each side from the back. Begin at the front of the center rectangle. Use the diameter of the tool to measure a 1 diameter rectangular base at the front hairline. Distribute and project the hair 90 degrees from the center of the base to achieve half-off base control and position an end paper for the bookend end paper technique. Wrap downward using the overlap technique. Position the rod half-off base on top of the lower parting and parallel to the base. Fasten the band across the rod. Temporarily position a stabilizer or pick toward the face. Work toward the crown using 1 diameter bases and wrapping with the same technique. Position stabilizers or picks in the direction of the wrap as you proceed. As you work over the curves of the head, maintain 90-degree projection from the center of each base. Continue to position each rod half-off base. At the narrower portion of the rectangle, switch to the shorter tools that were used to measure the section. Continue wrapping with the same technique, positioning each rod half-off base. Position a stabilizer or picks to secure the last rods in the nape area. Check the position of all rods in the section before proceeding. Next, move to the section behind the ear on one side. Continue to use horizontal partings in the overlap technique with half-off base control. Begin wrapping at the top of the section. Choose an appropriate length of tool and measure a 1 diameter horizontal base. Use the overlap wrapping technique and position the rod half off base. Work toward the bottom of the section, adapting tool lengths as necessary. Position a stabilizer or PIX and check the position of each rod in the section. Move to the front section of the same side. Again, use horizontal partings and the overlap technique with half-off base control. Work from the top of the section, beginning with the longer tool that was used to measure the section. Use the overlap technique and position each rod half-off base. Continue using the same technique to wrap the remainder of the section. Adjust the length of the tools to accommodate the hairline and position stabilizers or picks as needed. Repeat the same technique on the sections on the opposite side of the head. Position stabilizers or picks and check the entire head to make sure each rod is half off base and properly secured. Here we see the finished rectangle wrapping pattern. Place cotton along the hairline and saturate the hair with processing solution. Process and neutralize according to manufacturer's instructions. The finished perm features a repetition of curl diameter with directional movement off the face in the interior and downward movement at the sides and back. This perm wrap is functional and effective while being relatively quick and easy to perform.
Okay, so that was the one that we did yesterday. So what we're going to do now is go over the steps. So if you wanted to, or you should be taking notes on this one for sure. Not if you want to, you should be taking notes for this for sure. This is the procedure that you're actually going to do when you get a client and come in. Just want to put a little disclaimer out there today that I forgot how to spell today. And I'm writing on a computer screen with this pen right here, and it's really difficult. So I know my writing probably looks like elementary school. So if you have problems figuring out what it's supposed to say, just go ahead and yell at me. But for some reason today, I just don't know how to spell. So throughout, history, the first perms, they were invented in like the early 1900s. And so they've been called, permanent waves, cold waves, there's heat waves, there's endothermic, exothermic, thiol-free, ammonia-free. There's a lot of different solutions out there. The procedures may vary a little tiny bit just because of the manufacturer's directions when they talk about processing time. But the whole procedure for when you meet your client, when they walk in the door till they sit down in the chair and they're getting the procedure rolled up, all of that is the same on every single type of perm that you're using. So permanent wave, procedure. Okay, so the very first thing that you want to do is make sure that you have all of your supplies gathered. Now, if you don't know that this is what you're doing for a perm, when you get called for a client, you want to go and greet your client. So we're going to start with the greeting of the client. Oh, so hard to write on here. See, everyone brain dead right now on how to spell greet. I was going to write great. So when you're greeting your client, I mean, a smile and eye contact goes a long ways. You know, we used to always say, shake your client's hand, meet them at the front door, shake their hand. But right now, that's not such a great idea to shake people's hands. So, you know, a smile and an eye contact goes a long way. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is, you know, whatever your name is, and I'm going to be doing your service today. You know, why don't you come with me? Bring them over to your station, seat the client. And now we want to make sure that we sanitize our hands. Hand sanitizer, soap and water, whatever the case may be, but we always want to make sure that we sanitize our hands numerous times throughout a procedure. So after we sanitize our hands, we are going to double drape our client. So what that means is that we use a cape. Since this is a chemical procedure, we use the type of cape or drape that is waterproof. We put a towel around their shoulders to protect their clothing. We put the cape over that towel, and then we put another towel over that cape to protect the cape and absorb any drips. So, but you guys will learn how to do all that as we proceed on. So we're going to double drape our client. This time we're going to do our consult. Wait, C-O-N-S-U-L, yeah. I'm telling you, my spelling today is terrible. So we're gonna do our consultation. And at the same time, we're gonna check the scalp and the hair. Okay, so the consultation is when we're gonna ask our client, you know, what service they're having. Then we're gonna find out through a series of questions what they want, you know, loose curl, tight curl, short hair, long hair. You know, this is what we're going to find out during this time. We're also going to be kind of just touching their hair, just kind of going like this, getting a feel for their hair. Is it thick? Is it fine? Is it coarse? You know, is it sparse? Just what is it? And at the same time, while we're going around the head doing this with their hair, we're looking at their scalp. We're going to be looking to see if they have any scratches, any cuts, abrasions, any dandruff. Maybe, you know, you might even see lice. I mean, we just want to make sure that their hair and their scalp are okay for us to proceed with the service. If they do say have a scratch and it's an open scratch, like it had bled or something, or they bang their head, they have a scab there from banging their head on something, or even lice, we're going to tell them, you know, I'm sorry, we can't do the service at this time. You may want to wait till this heals, and then we'll be glad to do the service. But you know, anything, we don't want to see that because it's chemical. We put that chemical on something that's been a sore like that, and it's going to burn really bad. So we don't want to do any of that to anyone. So from time to time, there may be a reason for you to decline a service. It happens. It happens sometimes. So you know, when you're at school, if you have any doubt, you know, you get an instructor. We always get an instructor when you start a service anyway. So we'll make sure that we double check all that stuff with you. So after we do our consultation and check the scalp and hair, and we know exactly what our client wants, we're going to shampoo. So during this shampoo service, we want to make sure that we're not doing a vigorous shampoo, because if we accidentally scratch that client and then we put the solution on and it burns their head, that's not good. So we're not going to do that. We are going to be using a clarifying shampoo, which a clarifying shampoo is a type of shampoo that helps build up any like product residue that may be on the hair from, say, someone using a lot of hairspray or someone using a lot of like gel. Sometimes it builds up on the hair. So a clarifying shampoo is going to help remove that so that our hair can take to the chemicals in, you know, the optimum condition that we can get the hair in. So after we shampoo and towel dry the hair, or towel blot, towel dry. Yes?
You mentioned that about the dandruff, like to check if they have any dandruff. So if they have any dandruff, do we still what's it called? Do we still do the service?
Yeah, as long as the dandruff isn't, because sometimes people have like waxy dandruff, and that type of dandruff sometimes sticks to the scalp, and it can get a little like irritated. So anything that's irritated, you know, we don't want to do. If it's just like dry dandruff, just some flakes, I mean, that might give you an opening to talk to the client about maybe some products that you could, you know, sell them that would help cure or help clear that up. Did I answer your question, Brenda?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So after we towel dry their hair, we want to clean our shampoo area. So we need to clean that shampoo area. Okay. That's going to be the shampoo chair, the shampoo bowl, making sure that there's no water on the floor. Any hair that's left in the sink, we need to make sure we get all of that out. Wiping down the shelving around and on the top. Any shampoo bottles that we use, we want to make sure that we wipe the shampoo bottles off with our disinfectant solution. You know, we need to clean that up and have it ready for the next person that can come along to use it. So we want to clean that up. As we walk back to our station with our client, if our client's hair is dripping water and it drips along the floor, we need to make sure that we clean up all of those drips immediately. Like that, you know, as they're walking, like little drips. We need to clean that up. Any water left on the floor like that is considered a safety hazard. Someone could step in it and slip and fall. So we really need to make sure that we clean all of that up right away. So after we clean our shampoo area, now we're ready to actually start. Oh, and one thing with the shampoo also, there is no conditioner. We don't put conditioner on the hair because some conditioners will leave a coating on that hair and it won't allow the products to penetrate like they should. So we won't get the best results that we can. So we don't use conditioner. If the client has super tangly hair, maybe they should think twice about getting a perm because of the chemicals, you know, it might dry it out. But you guys will learn all about how to like analyze the hair and all of that too. So as we come back to the station now and our client sits back down, we want to wrap the perm. Whatever type of perm wrap we're doing, if we have to do sectioning, if we have to do, you know, no sectioning, whatever it is, we're going to section, we're going to wrap, and we're going to get that going there. Once we get that all completely wrapped, we're going to put protective cream. The protective cream is going around the hairline. So what the protective cream is doing is you just kind of run it, where's my girl? You just kind of run it around the hairline all along like this. And it's usually a petroleum based, so like Vaseline would work. At school we use this stuff called cholesterol. It's really thick. And you just run it around the forehead, over the top of the ears, like down the neck, around the back, you know, all around. And what that's doing is it's just helping, it helps the cotton stay on to catch the drips, and it also helps the, to protect the client's skin a little bit from the solution, because remember, it is a chemical, it can burn, so we need to be really careful with that. So after we apply protective cream, we're going to apply cotton. So the cotton is just like this roll of cotton here, and the protective cream will stick, make the cotton stick on the head, but we'll just come along the area here, the hairline, and just put it around the ears, and it goes all the way around the hair, around the ears, and down around the back. Now with I don't have protective cream, so it's not sticking. So what this is going to do is it's going to hold, catch the drips from the solutions that we put on. So we need to be a little bit careful with that too, but we'll talk about that in a second. So after we apply cotton, we are going to put our gloves on. It is one of our rules and regulations that say anytime we touch a chemical or use a chemical, we have to be wearing gloves. It's your protection from the chemicals also. So we're going to put our gloves on. Now, after we put our gloves on, we're going to apply our waving solution. So, and then we'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit later on. So after we apply our waving solution, most perms come with a bag. I mean, I'm going to say like just about every single perm I've seen in the last 5 years comes with a bag. So once we apply the waving solution, we want to put the bag on the head. What it's doing is it's keeping your natural body heat in that bag, so it processes a little bit faster. So we're going to place the bag on the head. Now this cotton that's around the hairline has caught the drips. So it's probably saturated with waving solution. If we leave that saturated cotton sitting on the skin with the waving solution, it could burn their skin. So we want to remove that cotton. And just throw it away. Now, if it still seems like it's dripping, we can add more cotton. We can put more cotton on around their hairline. And then once that gets saturated, we can remove that cotton and throw it away too. If you have to put more than like 3 pieces of cotton on that person's head, you've used way too much solution if it's dripping that much. So we'll show you how to use the correct amount though. So we want to remove the cotton and throw it away. Now what we have to be careful with is that the bag, if that bag is touching their skin, which it usually does a little bit because you got to cover the front of the hairline there, make sure that that bag doesn't have a lot of solution on it either, because the bag will work like the cotton, right? It's up against their skin with that solution on it. It can cause a burn, a chemical burn. And, and if you've ever had a burn, you know what it feels like. So could you imagine what it would be like all the way around your hairline? I've seen people take cotton off that didn't take it off when they were supposed to, and I've seen it like be pulled off at the end before they go to rinse the waving solution off. And all the way around where that cotton sits, they have like this hot pink ring all the way around their hairline. And it could possibly scab, it could peel, it could scar. I mean, it usually scabs. So it could scar after that. So, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So be careful with that bag and remove the cotton. Once we do that, after about 5 minutes, we're going to do a test strand. The test strand is just to check for development. What does the curl look like? And this is what we're doing with the test strand. We're checking that for development. Now, most perms these days take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes to process. So we want to take the test strand approximately every 5 minutes. I've even read some boxes that say no test curl necessary, just rinse off after 20 minutes. I kind of think that that's a lie because not everybody's hair is exactly the same. So we need to make sure that we're testing it, especially if it's like color treated hair, to make sure that we're getting, we're not over processing it. Because if we over process it, we're going to burn it. And we don't want burned frizzy hair. So we want to make sure that we do that test strand about every 5 minutes. We never want to check the same strand twice. So if you check one, it's 5 minutes, say you check one on the side over here, and it's 5 minutes, it wasn't ready, you clip it back up, you put the bag back on, another 5 minutes goes by, don't check the same one, check a different one on the head. There's a whole bunch of them on the head, so you can find other ones. Once it's reached its desired curl pattern, we are going to, throw the bag away, remove the bag, and then we're going to rinse. You're going to rinse in the water temperature that is comfortable for the client. You want to rinse for a minimum of 5 minutes. A minimum of 5 minutes. So perm solution smells. Some of them smell like rotten eggs even. It has a smell to it. The longer you rinse it, the more you're like rinsing that smell out of the hair. I mean, it's still gonna smell, but the strong smell is coming out. If you just rinse it for a couple minutes and then you put the neutralizer over the top of it, you're like locking that smell in the hair. If you rinse it correctly, after they shampoo their hair, they're not going to smell it as much. It may take a couple of shampoos, but it's not going to be nearly as strong. And some manufacturers do smell worse than others. Oh, I've smelled some. Ooh, they clear your sinuses up really good. They're bad. And then other ones don't smell so bad. So when you're rinsing, I always tell everyone, rinse it till you think you've got all that solution off, and then rinse it again. And then when you think you have that off, rinse it one more time just to be sure. When you're standing there just rinsing someone's hair for 5 minutes, it's a really long 5 minutes. So, just be diligent of the time. So after you rinse this, and you've rinsed it really good, and you're at the shampoo bowl, you're going to be setting at the shampoo bowl from the time that you start to apply the solution. Once you rinse that for 5 minutes, we want to towel blot it again. So towel blotting is really important at this point in time because now we've rinsed all the solution off. The bonds that hold your hair together that make it straight have now been broken and your hair is now curly. What we have to do is neutralize this so that it stays in that new shape that we've just reformed. So if we leave a lot of water in the hair from rinsing, that water will dilute our neutralizing solution and you're not going to get the desired results that you were going for. So towel blot, I mean, that's like taking the towel, putting it over the head, taking your finger and just like going over each rod with the towel to blot each little piece of hair off. If the hair is longer and it seems like it's just not gonna dry up with the towel like you want it to, you can put them underneath the dryer. Have them sit underneath one of those hood dryers that come down. They can sit underneath there for 5 minutes too, or 10 minutes, however long it takes. That's gonna make it be more susceptible now for the neutralizer so you can get the best results possible. So after you towel blot, you wanna reapply the cotton. Once you reapply the cotton, and we're gonna be, oh, I forgot something, sorry. When we're rinsing, we wanna make sure that we remove one glove. You can keep one glove on, but you wanna be able to feel the water temperature when you're rinsing, because sometimes water will fluctuate. Sometimes water gets colder, sometimes water gets warmer. So you want to be able to feel it when you're rinsing. So remove one glove for that. So after we reapply the cotton, we want to put our glove back on. A lot of times we don't need to put protective cream again for the cotton because it didn't wash off that easily. But if you need to reapply the protective cream before you put the cotton back on, you can. Okay, so now after we put our glove on, we're going to apply our neutralizer. Now, most neutralizers will process for 5 to 10 minutes. Some manufacturers suggest that you rinse the hair off when the neutralizing time is up and then remove the rods. Other manufacturers say for you to remove the rods, squirt the remaining neutralizer that's in the bottle on the head, lightly massage it through, and then rinse it out. Okay, I prefer that method. I prefer the one where you remove the rods and you squirt the neutralizer in, run it through the hair, and then rinse it out, because people have these perm rods in their hair. They don't fit in the shampoo bowl very well. Their head could be feeling kind of heavy from wearing these things for about an hour now, or an hour and a half. So by doing it, taking the rods out and squirting it in, I feel it's easier. But we're going to go with what manufacturers say. So if manufacturers say to rinse it out first, then that's what we're going to do. But after we apply the neutralizer and we neutralize for the amount of time, we will remove our rods. Or rinse, or whatever the manufacturer's directions say. We will remove our rods, and then we will, let's see, remove our rods. Now we have to clean our area again. So at this point in time, you probably have a sink full of rods. So either put them in a tub or a bucket or a towel or something to be disinfected later, but we need to get them out of the sink. So we can wipe down the sink, we can wipe down, get all the hair out of the trap, wipe down the chair, make sure there's no water on the floor, and just disinfect that area for the next person. Then we'll take our perm rods with us back to our station with our client, and we can put them in our containers to be disinfected when we're finished. Okay, so after we clean the shampoo area and we get back to our chair, we want to finish our client. So finishing the client could be anywhere from a haircut to just putting some mousse on their hair and sending them home with instructions. The instructions are important because we want them to take care of their hair correctly. So what's the instructions? Well, the manufacturers will say, do not shampoo your hair for 48 to 72 hours. That doesn't mean they can't get it wet, like take a shower and get their hair wet. That just means they can't use any shampoo on their hair for that time. It takes that amount of time for that chemical to completely set and become, like embedded in your hair. If you shampoo prior to that, it could loosen your curl or it could make your hair frizzy. So we need to make sure that we don't use any shampoo for that time. Educate your client on using, a moisturizing shampoo because they've had a chemical service. Educate your client on, in about 6 to 8 weeks, your hair is going to grow out and your perm's going to look like it's gone away. But that's the time that you need to get a trim because that's going to get that dead weight off and let that curl spring back up. Don't brush your hair, use a pick, things like that. We need to educate our client when we finish them. So after the client leaves and, they're leaving, now we have to go clean up our station. That means our mirror, our chair, the cubbies, the holes, the drawers, anything that was touched. You know, if the client put their feet up and they got a footprint on it, that has to be washed off. The floor around it needs to be swept really well. The bottom of the chair, they're usually chrome. They need to be cleaned from any water spots or hair that are going to be on there. But we need to make sure that we really clean that station really, and disinfect it really well for the next client to come and sit down. Once that's done, we want to fill out our client record card. Okay. Client record cards should contain the client's contact information, the date of the service, what you used, which would be like the color of the perm rods and the type of solution that you used, the processing time, whether you cut the hair before or trimmed the ends after or styled it, sold them any products. What else could you, oh, the price. The price is a good thing too to put on there. Just anything that else that you feel needs to go on there, but for sure you need to have the date, you need to have the service, you need to have the products used, the processing time, and the price for sure. Those 5 things are a must. If you want to put things on like next time use a larger rod, or next time cut more, or something like that on there, I cut the hair first, I cut the hair after, any of that you can put on there. But we just want to make sure that we have the basic information of what we need to know, because if they come in again and they're like, hey, I want a perm, but I want it looser than what you gave me last time. You'll have it written down and you'll know what you did last time. That way you're not just guessing, because after you see clients, you're not going to remember, believe me. And you see somebody once a year, oh yeah, you gave me a perm last year, and you're going to be like, oh, I did? Okay, great. Hi, yeah, I remember you. And you don't. You know, because you didn't write it down, right? So this is why we need to write these things down.
Can you say the 5 things that we need again on the card?
On the card, okay, so you need the date, the service, like what service they got. You need what you used, so like the products that you used, you know, the color rods that you used, whatever it was. Let's see, the date, the service, the products, the price, and the processing time. So how long you processed it for, and then the price. There we go. Okay, is there any other questions?
So you cut the hair after you perm it, or do you do it before?
Well, it depends on how much you're gonna cut. So if you're gonna cut a lot, I would say, I mean, and what I mean by a lot, if you're gonna cut more than like 3 inches, or you know, about 3 inches or more, I would cut it before, because it makes no sense to perm that hair and cut it off. You know, if you're just gonna trim like a 1/2 inch, maybe 1 inch, then I would do it after. It's just a little bit easier that way. So it really just depends on what kind of style you're doing. Okay. And one thing about hair color, if a client is got, you know, 2 inches of outgrowth, you would have to use a solution for tinted hair. But if this up here is, you know, gray hair, it's not going to take the same as the tinted hair. It's going to be more resistant. So if they have just a little bit of outgrowth, then that's fine. You know, you can go ahead and perm their hair. But if they have more than a little bit of outgrowth, you would have to color their hair first so that it would take evenly. But at the same time, perm solution will lighten hair color. Perm solution lightens natural hair color sometimes up to 1 shade lighter. So it can lighten hair a little bit. So it's really a hard, kind of a difficult decision for the client sometimes, because they have to color their hair and then the perm's going to fade it. And then they have to wait to come back and get it, you know, freshened up and get colored again. So if the clients, you know, it's to their advantage to not let it grow out so far to get a perm. It's to your advantage, because then you have to do like 3 services. So, you know, you're getting paid more. So color's a tricky one. Is there anyone?
When you wash the hair, do you keep the rods in? Like, don't take them out?
When you're rinsing the perm solution out, yes. You just lay them back in the sink and just rinse all that out. Because
You
what this,
just rinse it with water.
yeah. So what that solution is doing is it's breaking down the hair's natural bonds that make it straight, and it's reforming them to take the shape of that rod. So what that rod has to do now is if you take it out, it's just going to go back straight. So you have to leave it in that rod so you can neutralize it. Once it's neutralized, that neutralizer is rehardening those bonds back to where it stays in that new shape. That's why you got to be kind of careful. It's a little fragile after you rinse it. Okay. So is there any other questions? Does anyone need me to go back on the screen anywhere? If not, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. There we go. So is there any other questions about anything? No? None? None at all? There we go. It's so hard to see everybody in like a 2-inch square. So everyone's got the thing down about coming by Friday to pick up your books, right? Make sure that you bring a mask when you come in. And yeah, okay, so I guess that's it if I don't have any more questions. If not, then I will see you tomorrow. All right, be safe, you guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.